So we know what Xbox is doing in 2025. We have an idea of what Nintendo is doing in 2025, but PlayStation, well, they've been a little bit on the quiet side. Of course, there was the whole PlayStation Network going down for nearly 24 hours, and I still think there's more questions than answers with that situation, but it seems like they're trying to sweep all of that under the rug because they just announced a Sony State of Play presentation happening tomorrow on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, if you're in another time zone, I'm not going to do the math for you. You can figure it out. East Coast, Beast Coast. I'm going to talk about the time zone that I'm in. But a Sony State of Play presentation is definitely needed right now because it's been an interesting, past 6 months for the company. We've heard about a lot of games getting canceled. Of course, there were games such as Concord that came and went like a fart in the night. What are we looking at as games as a service games? Like, what are we doing in 2025 as far as titles are concerned? Now, we do know that this is going to be a 40-minute presentation, so obviously a bit on the beefier side. Now, there could be some developer interviews and stuff like that during this presentation, but I'm more hopeful that it's going to be more focused on just games and, things related to games. They said it's going to be news about upcoming games and games that we don't know about, so there is that level of excitement. But I think a lot of people are wondering, like, what are we expecting at this presentation as far as games that we know for sure are supposed to be 2025? I mean, I guess you have Ghost of Yotai, and you could show off some more of that game, show off some of the, gameplay, what's been different, what's been modified since Ghost of Tsushima to make this, a proper sequel to something like that. You have to imagine that there's going to be something live service related, whether it be something like Marathon or something like Fair Games. Maybe Fair Games gets officially canceled. I don't think anyone would mind that. Like Jade Raymond, the greatest heist artist of all time when it comes to the video game industry. But you have to imagine that there's going to be some sort of live service game that will be showcased here. But kind of beyond that, I think that's where the mystery lies. And I think that's what's actually kind of exciting about this is just all of the mystery surrounding it, because we really don't know much about Sony's 2025, if anything really beyond Ghost of Yotai and maybe some smaller titles. If you know anything about me, I play my PlayStation 5 for the exclusive games. That's what I have a PlayStation 5 for, so I'm looking forward to seeing some potential exclusives. Now, of course, there have been rumors about games that could be potentially at this. Supposedly, a God of War game in ancient Egypt is something that is on the table, and that could be at this event. Obviously, the God of War franchise is very, very popular for Sony, and you've had stuff like God of War and God of War Ragnarok. Of course, everyone seemed to love Ragnarok. I definitely liked it a bit. I kind of miss the old style of God of War, but I can appreciate the newer style, the slower, more brooding, tactical style of the current God of War games. So it would make sense to do like some sort of God of War related stuff here. It's one of the most popular franchises for Sony, and obviously a very beloved franchise. But when you're speaking about beloved titles, you got to look at potential remakes and remasters, because obviously that's a very hot thing right now within the video game industry with these high soaring budgets. And I hate to say it. I hate to say it because I feel like it's such a meme at this point in time. But I honestly think that there's a chance that there could be something Bloodborne related at this, like Bloodborne for PS5 with enhancements and stuff done to it. If you've been following kind of what's been happening with Bloodborne, essentially they've started taking down fan projects of Bloodborne, like the PS1 demake and stuff like that, which is very unlike Sony. Usually they don't mess around with stuff like that. They're more akin to like a Sega, to where they don't really care about fan projects, especially something like that, a demake for the PlayStation 1. So why are we doing this if there's not something Bloodborne related happening? Now, you could argue, oh, they're just protecting their IP, and I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be wrong in thinking that. but I do feel like there is a specific reason, because that's not the only Bloodborne related project that was taken down. A lot of people want Bloodborne at 60 frames per second. Of course, that is something you can actually get right now via emulation with Shad's PS4 emulator. I actually made a video on that emulator before. Make sure you guys check that out. But I think Bloodborne might actually be on the table. Bloodborne is almost like, you know, the Wind Waker Twilight Princess for Sony. Like, it's been rumored for so long. It makes so much sense. But for whatever reason, the companies just seem to be tone deaf with things like this and tone deaf towards these situations. Now, another thing I think could potentially be there is something that has been rumored for 2025. If you looked at, you know, previously leaked documents, internal documents involving Insomniac, and that is, of course, the Venom game. And I think that would be something that would be potentially a 2025 game, because, you know, it kind of makes sense. It's more of a Miles Morales style game than a Spider-Man 2, in which you play as Venom. You know, a smaller kind of offshoot game, not necessarily like a full-on experience, but still beefy enough to where you can get some good gameplay and good fun out of it. And I think that makes perfect sense to be here as well. It has been a very long time since we have seen anything from Venom aside from the initial teaser trailer for it, so I think that makes sense. As a 2025 game, that's something that could definitely be an interesting title for Sony. You know, you got to imagine, I mean, something Horizon. Like, for whatever reason, Horizon, probably because of Herman Holst, has just become this, like, the face of Sony. And it's such a weird franchise to me, because I don't know many people who actually love it. Like, they're just in love with the franchise and they want more from it, and they want more games and offshoot games and online games and Lego games. Like, I don't really know many people, if any at all, that are super in love with Horizon. But when you look at the sales of the games, it's like, well, that's the reason why why they're doing it. Like, the Horizon games tend to sell very, very well. Now, as far as surprises are concerned, obviously we've touched on a few surprises, but I'm not really sure. And I think that's what kind of has me anticipating this event, kind of has me a bit excited for it, more so than other state of plays, you know, because with other state of plays, you kind of knew what to expect. You kind of knew what was going to be happening. But with this one, I feel like there is that aura of mystery, that aura of, you know, anticipation, excitement, what third-party games are going to be there as well. I'm sure, you know, you might see another Metal Gear Solid trailer at this. I think a new trailer actually leaked today that's probably intended for tomorrow, involving Metal Gear Solid Delta. But I'm really looking forward to this. You know, I'm keeping my expectations in line, because a lot of state of plays don't necessarily hit with me, but I think there is potential with this. You know, it's a first presentation of the year. You got to come out strong. You're kind of laying down the roadmap for the rest of the year. And one thing I think could happen, and it would be crazy if it does, but what have I been joking about lately, is that Xbox seems to be announcing one PlayStation game a week, or one game that's coming to PlayStation pretty much every week. There's rumors from last week that something Starfield related was happening this week. Is Starfield going to be making the jump to PS5? I mean, the Xbox only sold 2 million units last year. You got to make up for game sales somewhere. I'm sorry that that's such a taboo thing to say, freaking Xbox, but it's true. You have to make up the revenue somewhere. Could Starfield be a big closing game announcement? You're probably also going to have Forza and Indiana Jones release dates at this as well. It's going to be an Xbox publisher game showcase for the PlayStation. This timeline is weird, bro. I want to go to another one. Let me know in the comment section down below, though. What do you expect to see at the Sony State of Play? Are you excited for this? Do you think they'll even mention anything about PSN being down? Because I think they've just moved on from that. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I will be making a reaction video to the State of Play after the event takes place tomorrow. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.